Welcome. Today's lecture is about functions, and specifically, not just a function. We want to tell you how to use a function and arrays together. Okay? So before we start, let's go back to review what's an array. Array is a sequence number. You can define the array by this using this, a type, and the variable name, and how many space you want to give this array. When you define it, you will get the memory location, memory allocation from your systems. And this is how your systems define this array. You can use it. And of course, there's a 2D array, which is array of array. And you can define 2D array by this. Okay, so let's talk about functions. What's a functions? What's the difference between function and methods? Actually, a lot of students, or maybe you or me, we don't think the methods and functions, they are so different. The difference is that the method is in the object, the function is not. So that's the only difference. So actually, the function in C is very similar to the method in Java. So how to define a function? First of all, we need to give a type. What's a return type? What's a function return? Then we give a function name, and we put parentheses. In this parentheses, we tell what's the argument we will pass to this function. So there's an argument, this argument type, and argument. Then we have a parentheses, and this is a function body. So this is function body. And if your type is not void, you should return something in your function body. Otherwise, the compiler won't compile. Return something. Okay, this is the structure for the function. So you give the function return type, function name, and the arguments. What's the arguments type? Of course, you can give more than one arguments. So here's an example. If I want to define a function, for example, called who, okay, who, function who, and this function return integer. If the argument equal to 1, it's return 1. Otherwise, it's return 0. Okay, if the function argument equal to 1, it's return 1. Otherwise, it's return 0. In this case, you can say, okay, it's an integer because it's a return, and this function called who, and I take its argument, which should be integer, x. If x equal 1, return 1. Else, return 0. That's it. So in this case, we provide the return value of a function. So if we provide a return value of a function, we need to give a right return statement. And we provide the arguments and what's the type of arguments. So this argument can be used in the body. And this is a function name. So if we want to use this function, we just say, okay, who 2 integer x or y, integer y equal to who. In this case, y will equal to 0 in the end. If we say y equal to who 1, in the end, y will equal to 1 in the end, and so on. So this is how you call a function. You use a name, has the arguments, and these arguments, of course, you need to make sure these arguments meet the data type you declare for this function. Okay? So this is how you declare a function. But here's a very important part for this function declaration is that without declaration, you cannot use it. For example, I have a function x here. So this is a function x. Okay, So how to define a function x? If its return type is integer x, there's no argument, and so on. Then I just return 1. Okay? So if I have a function without any arguments, it return a number, which is always return 1. Then I call this function here. So let's make it clear. So I try to call the function here. I say, okay, I want to assign my integer a equal to x function. I want to get, I try to get 1 to a. Okay, so if this is my goal, I can tell you this is wrong. Because what? Because your function declare after you use it. So back a little bit of the key. What's the key for function? You need to declare, then you can use it. So if you want to use x, this function, the only way you can use is that you can put this line after this declaration. Okay, let's see an example. Okay, let's see this example. This example has a main function which call a function called calculate triangle number. And as you can see, the calculate triangle number is a function name. The return type is void, and the argument, only one argument, which is integer. So after I got this number, I use a for loop, try to get this triangle number, and in the end, I print out triangle number and return nothing because the return type is void. Okay, so in this case, we define the function after we use it. So when we compile it, we should get some message. Let's see it. GCC function.c, I give the code and echo function. Then you can see we see the problem. Actually, it's a warning. Okay, so why we see the problem? Because we haven't declared it, but we use it. Okay, so we see this problem. We should declare it before we use it. So how to change it? We can first, one probability we can do it. So we move this for line, the main function after declaration. So let's see it. No warning, no error message. Okay, so but sometimes we'll get confused. Okay, I want to use a function, but I don't know how to write this function. I want to get the structure of my code first. Then I can define the function later. Okay, I do. No problem. C provides a declaration line, the line declaration, the function declaration for you. Okay, so if I have a source code like this, I have a main function, and I want to declare a function after it. How can I do? Actually, we can try to get everything here. We can declare a function before the main function. So if we have this line, because there's a declaration, we tell our compiler that there's a function name called it, so we can use it. After we use it, we try to fill in the function body of this function. It's a variable. So if you want to use a function you haven't had any idea or you haven't declared, try to declare the name of function and use it. Of course, you can declare in this main function. Okay, so let's see how it works. You see, you compile, it's compilable. Okay, so that's it. Let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so now you understand how to use function. Let's see how to use function with array together. So let's go back to the function we have. But right now, I want to pass an array. I want to pass an array to the function, not just pass a number. Okay, so let's change a little bit of this function. Right now it's not called calculate triangle number, but call it minimum. So we have an array of a number and we want to get the minimum number of it. So we can put something like this, and there's 200 elements in this array. And of course we can we need to return what's a value, minimum value for this one, and so on. Then in the body, we should give another one. So in this case, we can say, okay, I equal to 0, no problem. The minimum number, can be by default, just give the first number of your array. Then that's equal to 200. We try to traverse the array, and if array I less than mean, this mean should be start from 0. Okay, so if less than mean, we can say mean equal bi, and in the end we return mean. Minimal, the minimal number is mean. Okay, so this is a source code to get half, and in this case we need to call this function by mean, and we need to give an array. So the array should be 200, height of 200, 100 is stuff, and it's a little bit too much because we need to say, okay, so there's an integer grades, blah, 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 blah. We need to figure out, okay, what's the number of this, and maybe we'll have 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so let's try to make it just not 100, just 3. It's easier, 3. And we want to get the minimum number for this 3 number. And we can define 3 here. Of course, we need to change to 3 here, and so on. Okay, so we have a grade. We want to pass this grade into a function and get the minimum numbers in this function. Oh, GCC function dash-o. Then do the function, and the number is 3. That's it. Okay, so from this example, you can see you can pass an array by declare the array as argument. Okay, so this is how we pass an array into a function, and how we deal with array with a function together. So do you have any question? Joe, I have a question. I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird because in this case, when you declare a function, you need to know what's the size of the array. It's not make sense to me because a lot of the time when I program, I don't know what's the function to what's the length of array I should pass into a function. And also sometimes a function I want to support the array with different lengths, right? So I think it's a little bit weird. Yes, this is very, very good questions. So it's not convenient to just use array, use a function which only supports the fixed length of array, right? So let's see another example. I will show you how to support different array, the array with different lengths, in these C languages. So in this case, we can see the array, the function, we only accept array with 3 elements, right? But actually, we don't need to keep the number here. We can say, okay, I pass an array into this function. So this function right now can support different lengths of array. Okay, so in this case, I can show you, we can still compile it and run it. And we still got the number of 3. However, you might have questions. Okay, but here in the for loop, we have 3. So no matter how long array we give this function, it's only deal with the first 3. Can I get some information of an array? For example, can I use array.length to support it? Okay, the answer is don't do it. No. Again, array in this one is not an object. In Java, array is object. You can use array.length. But in C program, array is not object. The only way you use array has the only way you can get the array of length is that you need to know the length before you use it. So in this case, how can we write the function to support different lengths? We need to say, okay, I have a length variable here, and when I pass something array to a function, I give the length of array. That's the only way. This is the only way we can use the function to support different lengths of array. Okay, again, because in C array is not object. So there's no methods, there's no field like array.length to support. If you need to support different lengths of array, you need to take arguments length. And when you call the function, you need to give this information. This is the key idea of how to use a function with an array. Okay, so in this case, this is when you do another function, don't forget. Usually, when we define a function, we have at least 2 arguments. One is an array and one is a length. This is okay. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Today, there's 2 keys. First one, when you declare a function, you need to declare the function before you use it. Okay, so this is for a function. The second key is if you try to pass an array into a function in C languages, you also need to tell the function what's the length of the array. Otherwise, you can only support the array with a fixed number of as a length. Okay, so this is the lecture for today. I hope you enjoy it. And of course, the C language is so interesting, but it's also a little bit like a challenging compared to some other languages. I hope you will feel comfortable to use the array, use a function in this class. Okay, so that's for today. See you next time. The functions is great.